Thank you very much, and thank you, Alison. That was very, very, very good. So my name's Carolyn Radford, and I'm the Chief Executive of Mansfield Town Football Club. And it's an honour to be here today to address the Women's Business event here at Portland College. And I thank you all for supporting the event. It's very important. So when I was asked to come here today to talk about women in business, I must admit I was slightly hesitant, as it's something that I've not really done before. But then I thought I owe it to other women to pass on the lessons that I've learned and to speak about the challenges that face women in the workplace. So some of you might have heard about me before today. My appointment at the club made headline news, as both my youth and gender was apparently extraordinary in the world of football. Women are hardly fixtures of the boardroom, otherwise everyone wouldn't write about it so much. But what really upsets me is the fact that only females in our industry are judged by their gender, and that's categorically wrong. I was shocked at the media coverage that I received. One of my friends at the time my position at the club was an axe, said I couldn't have got more headlines if I'd murdered someone with an axe. Without a doubt, the hardest thing about being a female executive in the spotlight is that your gender makes you an easy target. A lot of people perhaps couldn't cope with some of the stuff I've had thrown at me, and I wouldn't blame them. But I've found that as long as I know that I'm good at what I do, and as long as those closest to me are okay, I don't care what people on the outside think. Because you can spend your whole life, oh God, and I've just broken my shoe. I can't believe it, it's because I'm so nervous. You can spend your whole life worrying about breaking a shoe, what people are saying about you, but you have no control over it. And the best way to deal with it is to develop a very thick skin. So upon my appointment, it was deemed as almost inconceivable that I, as a woman, could run a football club. So despite my admitted youth and lack of knowledge of the football business, I thought, I'm not simply going to run it, I'm going to turn around this club's fortunes and I'm going to take it to places that it's never been to before. So thankfully now, after a few hard years of graft, the club is currently in the best position in its modern era. So after 3 mid-table finishes previously, since my appointment, we've reached a playoff semi-final and then been crowned as champions of non-league just a year later. And I aim to be pushing the team to the top end of League 2 next season. Short-term goals have been to stabilise the business, and long-term it's generating revenue, developing a state-of-the-art sports facility at the ground, building dedicated training pitches for the club, redeveloping a disused stand, and continuing to promote the global brand by filling the stadium week in, week out. And that's done by winning games week in, week out. But it hasn't always been that way. I inherited a very, very poor state of business, and it was a case of changing that business or trying to win a personality contest. There was no clear direction, and in some areas there weren't the right people with the right skills doing the right jobs. We've changed directors, managers, accounts clerks. In fact, I rarely saw the accounts lady, as she was continuously covered in mounds of paper and huge mounds of till rolls when I started, and I still haven't quite worked out what she was doing with them. And the petty cash budget for the office nearly matched that of the players' wages. The ticketing system was totally archaic and didn't actually match any of the seating plans, and there was money going missing left, right and centre. Because as we're mainly a cash business, generating on a match day through ticket sales, catering sales, bar sales, retail sales, very sadly this gives perfect rise for any would-be thieves and opportunists to pounce. So after match days I found mounds of cash lying around in tumble dryers, desk drawers, lockers, and the turnstile takings were so far out, I think that one of the turnstile operators was actually giving us a 5% token gesture back after his shift. It was really scary. The bar hadn't been stopped taken for years, and I actually realised why we had queues of volunteers desperate to work match days, and it might not have been for their love of Mansfield Town. We had staff entrusted with keys breaking into the building in the middle of the night, apparently to borrow a pint of milk. And the key point I think I have to make is that the people who were in a position before my time to voice the very real state of emergency that the club was in had failed to be accountable and take responsibility for the situation. And to change the way that things were done. It was the old, it's always been done that way and you can't change that. And funnily enough, they were all men. So, when I admittedly, very youthfully, energetically, and as loud as I possibly could, raised the alarm, I was essentially whistleblowing on what was happening at the very heart of the club. I really think that actually no one wanted to do anything about it. Department managers kind of cringed as I illuminated this very serious state of affairs that was causing the club to fail and making it slide very quickly down a steep hill. Because it meant that something would have to be done. Bums would have to be got off seats, and huge amounts of effort and energy would be needed by those people to turn things around, and quickly. I've always been the type of person that hasn't just looked at the way things are and thought, this is okay. I look at things and see how they could be made better. Good, I find, is a barrier to being great. If things are good, then you don't want to rock the boat. And some people, some businesses, can't see why you'd want to change anything about good. But to be great, you've got to forsake good and you've got to take risks. In business, I've found a lot of people settle the way things are and they don't have that vision of how things could be improved or understand that by sheer hard work and gritting your teeth, you can make them better. But I think, thankfully, having faced so many challenges and having totally already changed the culture of a business, my management techniques have evolved from my initial very open and direct, perhaps aggressive style. I'm a little bit older and wiser and I've got a lot on my plate. Aside from the club, I'm renovating a house with a now much shortened deadline since we have a new arrival joining us soon. We're developing a green energy business based at the ground, a restaurant, a garden centre, but the best area and an escape from my male-dominated environment is that I'm setting up a one-stop beauty salon where I should hopefully be able to go for some refuge. So I'm getting pretty good at delegation, and I think as you get older you get better at it, but that comes from trust, when you know the people you work with and that they can deliver. Before, delegation would frighten the hell out of me. I had to have control and I wouldn't let anybody else have it. It was a mixture of the fact that I didn't trust people and ultimately I didn't think anybody could do it as well as I could. And this extended to actually cooking in the kitchen on a match day, albeit pies and peas, but let me tell you that there's actually a very complex process that goes into making mushy peas. And so at that point I thought maybe I don't know it all. It's only with maturity that you learn that it's far more important to learn than to teach. So I'm learning how to teach people my values, how to develop a vision and have faith to let my team help me deliver it. They enjoy the structure and the freedom, which I admit is an unusual combination, but one that I'm finding is a winning one. So my style has developed, but with each business facet, I set the strategy. So everybody who works for me knows where we're going and what's expected of them. Everyone knows what they have to do to make sure the company is a success, and then everyone knows what their reward is. And I think that creates a vibrant, positive environment and one that's both creative and dedicated. There's never anything missing from my instructions. I like to be straight talking and direct, and I want my colleagues to understand exactly what I expect from them. Exactly what their contribution is to the company and how they fit into the overall structure. And it's both an asset and actually a coping mechanism because I do so many things. A few years ago I had to be far ballsier to get things done, but I've definitely been able to change over the years as I've employed more people. I do think that sometimes you can be too competitive. I used to want to win everything and I'd get fiercely passionate about the tiniest thing. I had to get the best results in school, then went off to Durham University, read politics, went into law, specialised in fashion, worked with the best fashion houses, Gucci, YSL, I was very, very feisty and always fighting my corner. But I have to say I've really mellowed a lot since actually becoming pregnant. And my husband John says to me, don't try to win everything, just win the things that are important. And it's very good advice. And I'm slowly learning that not every detail can be controlled at all times, even though I'd really like it to be. I also feel that perhaps some of the success of the club can be down to my non-fan-like attitude to the game. Football is a business, like any other, though with its unique set of circumstances. Football is what people think we do, and it's what we do on a Saturday, but underneath that we have a retail business, a corporate sales business, a hospitality business, a media business, a ticketing section, and so on. So there's a lot of different businesses under the umbrella of football. The difference to other businesses is that we don't actually manufacture anything. People are the business, and that makes it very, very special. I think understanding the market is crucial in football. Customer service is very important. A Mansfield Town fan is not going to wake up and support Chesterfield. And a Chesterfield supporter, I think, is not going to wake up and support Mansfield Town. So you have an element of a captive customer. But the trick as a football club is to turn those people who say that they're supporters into paying customers. And then it's about maximising the seats and leveraging the brand, which is something that we're really working on this season. There might have been a time when brand wasn't mentioned in terms of football, but those days are long gone. And we saw from coverage of our Liverpool FA Cup game the input of Sky Television and what that did to promote our brand globally. But in these hard economic times, it's a tough call to generate revenue. But I think that what supporters really want is to feel part of the team that they support and part of the infrastructure, part of the decision-making process, and to feel important. And that's what we do. It's about relationship building and about trusting the people and the work that you do. So I haven't quite scored all my goals yet, pardon the pun, but for me, I think it's very important to encourage more women into business, to encourage more women into traditionally male-dominated industries, and to ensure that women are treated equally. I want to believe that in the future, opportunities in whatever field, in whatever circumstances, will all be equal. I'm not saying that women are better than men in business, but our progression has historically been blocked by men. And this is actually very counterproductive. We need to believe that there's no glass ceiling. And working in such a male-dominated environment, I do privately think that before my appointment at the football club, that the blokes were all too busy stood around, stroking each other's ego and patting themselves on the back as they were falling off the side of a cliff. There is certainly a lot to be said in having some female intuition around the place and even a few hormones. So I say to all of us women that we owe it to each other to help each other to carry on this journey to equality in business, to aim high, to learn, and with a bright smile and a good pair of heels, not like mine, then we're limitless. So thank you all very much for taking the time to listen to me today. And I'm sorry that I was reading it. I was hoping that I'd memorise it by now, but I only did it a couple of hours ago. But yeah, fantastic event today, and thank you very much for having me. Thank you.